Hello and welcome to City on the Sofa here on LCFC TV. It's a Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff here at King Power Stadium. I'm Dan Bates and joining me in the studio is Gerry Taggart and Steve Walsh, and our special guest this afternoon is a man who was an absolute hero here at Leicester City. Yes, Emile Heskey is, of course, our special guest this afternoon for Leicester against Crystal Palace in the Premier League. Welcome to City on the Sofa with me, Dan Bates, Gerry Taggart, Steve Walsh, and that man there, Emile Heskey. Firstly, Emile, we'll come to you. Thank you very much for joining us. How have you been doing?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's tough times, obviously, now with where everything's going, but we've got football back and we've got something to cheer about, so that's always nice. But yeah, it's been tough, especially with kids as well. But the kids actually deal with it better than the adults.
I know for you guys, Gerry and Walshy, obviously, it's always good to catch up. I know this isn't really a proper catch-up for you guys, but to at least be able to have a bit of a chat anyway is nice.
Yeah, good to see you, Emile. There's not a lot to laugh about or cheer about down here, but we are trying our best. And
today is another day.
Yeah, today is another day. It's the 4th of July. It's my lad's birthday, Zach. He's asked me, can Leicester give us 3 points today? So hopefully for his birthday we can do that. But we will see. We will see. Keep the faith.
Yeah, happy birthday to Zachy. Hopefully Leicester can come through for him this afternoon. As ever on City on the Sofa, we want you guys at home to be central to our show. So please do send in your predictions, any videos you have and pictures of your setup for today's game. You can use the hashtags LCFC or Then Now Again. We'll get you involved straight away with a poll as well, because we've asked Emile Heskey to narrow down his 3 favourite Leicester City goals. So we're going to put these out in just a moment's time for you guys at home to have a vote for those. One of them was a very early goal that he scored against Southampton. One of them was that famous header in that famous win over Derby County away, where they blitzed early on there at Pride Park. And the third one was against Spurs as well. We know, Emile, you've put these 3 together, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. They're the ones that stick out to mind, to be honest with you. The Derby one was special, especially going ahead. Was it 3 or 4-0 up? And I got 2 headers early on. Muzzy got a header, and I think it was 4. Then it was Marshy as well got the header, which was wonderful, you know. And then obviously the Southampton one was key. I can just remember getting the ball in, turning, someone trying to bring me down, but just making sure I just put my foot through it, and lucky enough it went in.
Yeah, well,
and then another one, the last one against Spurs, was a speciality of mine, to be honest with you, pinning the defender and letting the ball run. And then you can just muscle away past him, and my left foot wasn't that bad. So, yeah, good finish.
Yeah, we'll get a reminder then of those 3 goals, and we'll tell you how to vote just after.
Heskey draws away from Venison's challenge. What a goal! Oh! That's the goal of the season, it's got to be! A super strike from Emile Heskey, and Leicester City leads Southampton by 2 goals to 0. Well, he sidesteps the challenge from Venison, almost stumbles, regains his balance, and drives it in past Bessant.
From the left, but this time it's a beautifully played cross, and it's a side footer, just uses the right foot. Savage does ever so well at the spot, but watch this, side foot, that's a pass. Heskey's an absolute acres. Questions will be asked. just walked into that near post area, totally unopposed.
Heskey turns well. Oh, that's a brilliant goal! What a brilliant goal by Heskey. It's his 6th of the season, and he's just standing there. Lennon found him, but really nothing looks on here. But again, it's that turn. And Vega, well, he might as well have not been there.
Well, 3 great Emile Heskey strikes there. You can vote on Twitter. The poll is up on there, so do make sure you cast your vote. And throughout City on the Sofa this afternoon, we'll be looking to see how that poll is coming along. Gerry, what's your favourite of the 3, do you think?
Well, it's pretty hard, isn't it? All for different reasons. Obviously, the header against Derby, you know, we're local rivals, so, and that's a great header. Great ball in from Gops with his right foot, you know, one-touch cross. And obviously the 2 strikes, one right foot, one left foot. But for me, the game I played in was the game against Tottenham. Well, I played until half time, and then I got replaced by Walshy. And it's, when I do my after dinner set, one of the stories that comes out is a story what happened in the dressing room after that game. And on that night, Emile was unplayable. I mean, he was fantastic, and I think, if you remember rightly, Emile, the manager let you know so after the game. So I am going for the Spurs. The way he rolls Vega, as I said, the left foot shot, it's got inch perfect in the top right hand corner. Fantastic.
Yeah, I've certainly heard that story before. It's certainly not one for this afternoon on City on the Sofa. I know that for sure. Walshy, out of the 3, which is your favourite?
Yeah, listen, they were all terrific goals, and you know, pace, power, strength. The Southampton, you know, the goal of the season one really sticks out with, you know, he stumbled through 2 challenges and short backswing, bang, and it's in the top corner. The header, obviously, against Derby, when there were 4 headers in 20 minutes and we were 4-0 up, and we came in at half time and O'Neill went crazy at us. He went mad, you know, having a go at us. We were thinking we were, you know, here we are. And but no, I've got to go with it was Southampton, wasn't it? The other goal, and I've got to go with that just for the fact that he's rode 2 challenges and somehow just a short backswing, bang, and the power of the shot, just the keeper had no chance. So for me, that one.
Before we take a look at the early results of the poll, Emile, I know obviously the goals will mean different things to you for different reasons. Can you narrow it down and pick just the one?
I would say I would go with Tags, to be honest with you. I loved that move from myself. I always use that where I'm letting the ball come in and just shielding it and just letting it run, using my body and my momentum to spin the defender and get a shot off. And you'll see that throughout my career. I did it many a times. I remember I came on late on against Norwich, did exactly the same, but whipped a ball in low, and I think Ewan Roberts scored from that. I did it many a times, that move, and it became a speciality of mine, to be honest with you.
Well, let's take a look at some of the results then of the poll that have been up on Twitter. Of those 3 goals, we ask you fans out there which was your favourite, and it's very close there. We've had nearly 300 votes, and it's incredibly tight between the 3 of them. So goal 1, the Southampton one, has 33% of the vote, as does the 3rd one against Spurs. But it's goal 2, the one against Derby, that has 34% of the vote. That's just edging it ever so slightly. And Gerry, if you just look at the votes that have been cast there, obviously they are very close. I think there's 7 votes in it. It's that tight. But I think the Derby one for Leicester fans, obviously, as Walsh was referencing, means an awful lot to them, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You can see why. And again, when you look at it, it's a great move. It's quick football, but it's precise football. And you know, when Emile, I know if you hear it in the commentary, the commentators are going on about where are the Derby defence, but as soon as that ball gets played to Steve Guppy, if you look in the box, you see Emile making that run to find the space, and then obviously he's got to rise and direct the header into the back of the net. So it's a special goal in itself because of the move and the way it came about, the quickness and the precise football that was involved.
Well, we'll return to that poll a little bit later on the show, but we need to go to present-day Leicester City now. Emile, obviously you've been watching from afar. It's your debut here on City on the Sofa. Things haven't quite gone according to plan for the Foxes, though, has it really, since the resumption of football?
No, it hasn't. Obviously, even before the lockdown, I think it wasn't going great. But now, obviously, since coming back, you can't have 3 months of inactive football and then simply think that you can have a week, 4 weeks of coming back, and then you can really hit the ground running. It's been tough, and the Leicester have found it very tough. The lads have found it very tough. But again, I don't think there's a need to panic as such. I know we were so far ahead within the race for top 4, and now it's down to what, 4 points, 3 points, 2 points actually. So I don't think we need to panic as much, because again, at the beginning of the season, if you'd have said at this stage we'd be top 4 with 6-7 games to go, you'd be taking that. So let's just look at the perspective of the whole perspective of it. But again, it's in our hands. You've got to remember that it's in our hands, and we want to stay in there. But again, I think it's still classed as a good season. We need to get back in the hunt for goals, because again, defensively, have we been as sound as we would like to have? Probably not. But again, look, like I said, it's in our hands, and we've got to grasp it.
And hopefully that starts today, Walshy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly does, because the league table will look a whole lot different tonight. I can tell you, if things go wrong. But we've got to be positive. We've got to, like Emile said, it is still, and we keep saying it, in our own hands. How long this is going to be for in our hands is going to be for everyone to see. But it's an opportunity. It's a game that I still fancy us to win, and again, I think Vardy, I think he's going to get that 100th. I said it against Everton in the second half. I thought he looked like he was just got that appetite and something. He got a bit of support play, and he just looked his demeanour looked better. And I think hopefully I'm right today with my predictions of a 2-0 win. I really feel we're going to go and win, and just kind of silent the critics a little bit, because obviously we are under pressure, and it is telling at times. You can see it is, but they're not playing badly at all. Just got to cut out a few little silly mistakes that we're making when defending, and be more clinical if we get the opportunity. So it's an interesting game, and like I say, the whole club, we've all got to be positive, and and keep that team spirit together in that dressing room, because that's the last thing you need is a few arguments inside that dressing room and things to go wrong in there. That at this moment in time, you need everyone pulling together, and I think they'll pull through it. But it's going to be a tough 6-game run in now.
Gerry, you can run through the teams, both Leicester and Crystal Palace. Obviously, we'll start with Leicester first. There's been a couple of changes, hasn't there? And we envisage maybe a 4-4-2 for Leicester this afternoon. Yeah,
Perez and Iheanacho come in for Barnes and Pratt today. So they're down the bench. So again, Brendan, just trying to find that right blend to get us back up and running. I think when you analyse the games, where we've probably let ourselves down a little bit is our final ball. So that's why you see, again, that left and right hand side chopping and changing a lot. Tielemans, keeps his place. I thought he did okay against Everton. And in the second half, he started, to create from that, middle third of the pitch with his short passing, which was good. The link-up play between Iheanacho and Maddison was really good, with Tielemans involved in that. Obviously, Maddison not involved today, so that'll be a tough pill to swallow today. But hopefully, it's all about the end product for me. They're getting themselves in good positions and not just being able to feed them balls into Vardy, stroke Iheanacho. So hopefully that's food for thought for the players, and hopefully that will change.
Emile, I know obviously strike partnerships were a huge thing during your career, particularly here at Leicester City. So we're seeing Vardy and Iheanacho, we assume will be up front together this afternoon, and particularly in that second half against Everton, the link-up play did seem to be there between the two of them.
Yeah, definitely. I think, the funny thing is we've gone away from playing two up front, and we've gone away from that sort of partnership and working on that within training, because you generally play with one up front, but there's always a time where that link up, I think I saw it again, Brighton against Arsenal, where the two lads, one overed it, the other one passed it into his player, and then he went and scored. And these sort of things we've moved away from. But when Iheanacho and Vardy are playing up top together, especially when Iheanacho generally comes on, it's usually generally Vardy up front on his own. But when Iheanacho comes on, he always makes an impact, and he always looks to link up and play with Jamie Vardy. And it usually gives something different because it drags defenders out. When you're playing with one up front, Tags and Walsh will tell you, you can see that one player. You know where to move. But when you've got two up front and you've got one dropping in, and you don't know whether you've got to be the defender to go in, which creates space in behind for other attacking players to make runs. It's difficult. Then it just gives you a different challenge. And at times, I just think like Leicester need to mix it up a little bit because they have great players. They have players to do that. Even Perez can play up front there. But Iheanacho gives you something different, holding the ball up as well. Because again, at times when it's coming back, defenders will tell you again, balls keep coming. You play the ball up front and it keeps coming back. That's the worst thing ever. You just feel like you're camped outside your own box. But when you can actually have someone like Iheanacho who will hold the ball up, who will create fouls, who will create something from nothing, and have link-up play with Jamie Vardy, is wonderful for them.
I think that's the key, Emile, is at times on Wednesday night when Iheanacho came on, and to begin with, the link-up play was brilliant because he was, like you say, he was moving into little spaces where defenders don't like it. But as the half went on, he was coming deeper and deeper to try and receive the ball. And it's important that he has to have that link with Vardy throughout the game for that enable those little phases of play that to increase and develop.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, Gerry, you're looking at this lineup today. Iheanacho is, the way that second half panned out when we made the changes, Maddison, Iheanacho, he starts to drift into the midfield quite a lot. Rather than. I've just seen some goals of yours with power and strength going down the sides of people. That's what he needs to do, get his body in and use he's a big lad, he's a big, strong lad. He's got to chase everything down. I don't see enough of it from him, and that's why there's a inconsistency in his play and possibly why he's not picked week in, week out, because he's not doing that hard graft and that work. If he could do that, and use that power and strength, and stay up with Vardy and support Vardy. You should be playing off him all the time now and linking up with him. And that's what I'd like to see today. Looking at that lineup for me, we say 4-4-2, but I think indeed he has to. We've got Perez, Tielemans, Albright. He's going to have to be a sitting midfield player. Indeed, he can't be surely looking to go on I think it's a 4-1-3-2 kind of formation today. Really, I don't know. I might be wrong, but Iheanacho is a key. Really, he has to stay up front. And not drift off and come into that midfield area unless things are going, wrong for us. He might have to do a job. But, with that squad and that team lineup, it's an attacking lineup where we can get at Crystal Palace and really put them on the back foot if Iheanacho plays alongside Vardy, supports him and chases everything. And that's why I think it worked at Everton. We got that. You saw Vardy. He looked eager to chase everything down in the end, and he was getting more support. He just looked happier, and that's what we need to do straight from the start today.
Well, let's hope we do see that link up between Jamie Vardy and Kelechi Iheanacho this afternoon. Let's get the view from inside the Leicester City dressing room now. This is Harvey Barnes speaking ahead of the game.
I don't know if it's confidence. I think it's just, for us at the minute, it's more frustration that we're not quite hitting the levels that we have been throughout the season. And that comes in sync with the results. If we're not quite playing to where we should be, then results aren't going to come. So I think for us, it's just about, so it's been a tough week or two coming back, just pressing the reset button, getting together as a group, and then making sure performances going forward are back to where they should be.
You set such ludicrously high standards earlier in the season. Has it been hard to kind of keep that level?
I think it has, yeah. I think, as you said, we had such high standards. We went on such a good run earlier in the season that we're bound to have a dip in form at some point. Obviously, nobody wants to, but it's bound to happen, throughout the season. But it's just, for us now, about getting out of that them bad results and getting back to where we want to be. That's our main focus at the minute, and we're trying to do that by taking it game by game.
Harvey Barnes there speaking ahead of the game this afternoon at King Power Stadium. As ever, we want you guys at home to get involved with the show. A number of you have done. You sent in your pictures to us on Twitter using the hashtag LCFC, or you can also use the hashtag ThenNowAgain. We can take a look at a couple of those pictures that have been sent in. This is from Nina Shepherd. She says, we're in lockdown. Please give us something to cheer about Leicester. Hashtag ThenNowAgain, with one of those fantastic clap banners at home, of course. And Alan Hampel says Jordan is ready for the LCFC match all the way from Florida, which is nice, and starting the fans certainly early, Jerry, there.
No, brilliant, yeah.
That's a great one, that.
Absolutely, and I wonder, what time would it be in Florida? No, it's like early 6 in the morning, something like that, 7 in the morning, so that's, you know, that's good going, that.
Good commitment. They say you don't get much sleep with a newborn, so maybe it's good timing that he's up early and watching Leicester City in action. Emile, we heard from Harvey Barnes there. He was talking a little bit about confidence, and he doesn't seem to think it's a confidence issue for the Foxes at the moment. It's just about hitting that ground running now, and hopefully that does start this afternoon against Crystal Palace.
Yeah, when you look at it, I don't think Brendan Rodgers lacks in confidence, and I don't think he will. I don't think the players will. He'll be reiterating that they're doing certain things right. It's just getting that look of the draw and look of the bounce sometimes. But again, it's about putting them hard yards in. I think Walsh talked about it before. You know, chasing them lost causes. We watch what we're used to. So I think just getting that little bit of luck that you need, creating some chances, and taking them half chances, because again, you know, with the likes of even Crystal Palace, you're looking at the Crystal Palace game and you're saying you've got to take them half chances. If you don't take them half chances, they're likely to punish you when they do get the chance. Keeping them to limiting them to them half chances, and then you going on and taking your chances, because again, it's going to be a tough evening, because we haven't had that much time to get back into the swing of things. The lads will tell you we have 6 weeks pre-season. And even after the 6 weeks pre-season, really 4 games in, that's when you're really starting to feel that you're ready for the full season. You don't really feel ready straight away. So these lads they're still working their way into it.
Well, let's see the Palace team, how the visitors line up this afternoon at King Power Stadium. Walshy, I guess the kind of main headline from a Palace point of view is those attacking players. So the likes of Wilfred Zaha and Ayew.
Yeah, I was hoping Zaha wasn't fit, but I know he's carrying a bit of a niggling injury, so he's obviously wants to play in every game, and he's obviously he's the one player that you look on that team sheet, and he's causing us problems over the last few years. So again, it's going to be a tough game for our defenders. Obviously, with the kind of the age of James Justin and Chile, the young lads, they're going to have to really step up today, and he is the one that you more or less have to double up on with Zaha. So the centre backs have got to be careful. 1v1 situations with Zaha, he's got to be doubled up on. And obviously with Benteke, he's inconsistent, but still, he's always a threat on set pieces against us. Ayew, again, difficult player to play against. So the system they are playing, obviously 4-3-3, it looks like it's for our back four, they're going to have to be on the toes today. And but it is a chance for us, looking at the wide, the width of the pitch. That's where we've got to get at these today, I think, and hopefully we can get plenty of crosses in that box like we did in that second half against Everton. When you look at that team, Jerry, from a Palace point of view, does anything jump out to you in terms of Leicester potentially looking to isolate any of the fullbacks maybe of Palace this afternoon?
Yeah, I think, in Van Aert, you've got a player that loves to get forward and join in the play whenever he can. So that in itself, leaves issues for Crystal Palace. I think also, their forward strength, obviously you pick out Zaha straight away, but for me, Milivojevic is another player that, you have to be really, it's really key that we don't give silly free kicks away on the edge of the box, because we've seen this guy convert free kicks, penalties, he's a specialist. So that's another area that Leicester have to be concerned about, in and around the edge of the box. But going forward, that we know we've got the beating of these. We've beat them already this season in the reverse fixture down at Sellers Park. So if you block off or block out their key men, so for me that's Milivojevic from dead ball situations, Zaha and Van Arnold in general play, they will look to link up. There's no doubt about that. And if you block that off, then there's no reason why Leicester can't get on top of this game.
And Emile, Jamie Vardy will be looking at that team sheet thinking there are frailties in that defence that he can hopefully, from a Leicester point of view, hopefully he can get that 100th Premier League goal, but there are certainly areas that he can exploit.
Yeah, he's obviously exploited it before. He's played against them over the years and understands that. So he'll want to be getting his 100th goal, but he will be looking at himself more than them. As long as he carries on doing what he's doing and getting into the areas, there was times where in the last games where he snatched a couple of chances, where is if he gets into there and does his usual, because we've seen it before with him. He's a proven goal scorer. So just get into them areas and do your usual and be calm and collective in the finishes that you do. I don't see why he shouldn't score. But yeah, he'll be looking at that team and be looking at where can I exploit them? Where are their weaknesses? Where is my pace going to hurt them? And he'll be looking to really get down the sides of them, and because no defender likes turning, and especially against Vardy's pace, the lad's getting quicker and quicker. So no defenders like turning. So that's where he's going to try and exploit them.
We heard from Harvey Barnes a little bit earlier here on City on the Sofa. Let's hear from his manager now. This is Brendan Rodgers addressing the current form.
I think we accept collectively that we're in a little period where it's an adverse moment. Haven't quite had the results that we would want, but the challenge for us as a team is to come through that, and that's something that we'll look to do. I think the players, if we're talking spirit and honesty and character and mentality, then this group will be okay. Absolutely, they're first class to work with, and like for me, it's just that sense of perspective, really. Just rather than measure our season on the last 4 games since the lockdown, we come out of lockdown. It's the case of looking over the course of the whole season, and the talent has taken us into a brilliant position. So, but I think as part of the growth here, obviously a lot of young players and in a position that has been new to a lot of the players. It's just that emphasis on mentality and that's key, and that's something that is ongoing. But that's something that just doesn't happen overnight. That's a process. That's developing a mindset, and certainly something that we've done very, very well over a long period here. But it's something that we need to continue to work on. And in all the games since we've been back, we could have won them all. Watford, we should have. Brighton, we had opportunities and didn't. The Chelsea game, we played well for 45, but just quite sustain it. And we obviously the other night we were undone eventually by what was a poor decision, really. So, but no, we have to have a robustness as well. I think there's going to be a core of players that will play, and of course you make changes to freshen it up. But in the main, we're searching to get back to playing with that freedom and that expression again, and that's whether that's with changes or not, it's what we want out of our performance.
Brendan Rodgers there speaking on City on the Sofa, rather. Gerry, just picking up on one thing that he said there. He said that in all of the games Leicester have played since the return of football, they could have won all of them. Mm-hmm. There were chances to win all of them, and he underlined that Watford one, didn't he? Probably should have won that one, really, when they took the lead so late on.
Well, yeah, of course, that's the one that probably sticks out. They took the lead in that game, and obviously couldn't hold on to it for whatever reason. Obviously, it was a set piece that they were undone by. Again, against Brighton, you could go to the penalty right at the death that wasn't given, that should have been given. Another poor VAR decision that we had again on Wednesday night. So they've been in every game. No team has stood out, you have to say. That's first and foremost. No team that we've watched we've watched Leicester play, has stood out and, bulldoze them. In saying that, it is fair to say that Leicester haven't been at their peak yet. So that, that's probably why you're hearing Brendan mention that they could have won every game, because they could have done. And and that's why I always hear me talking about that final ball, that end product. That's probably the only thing that has let Leicester down. And I know it's very, very important, the final ball, because that is where your creativity comes from, and that's where your finishing comes from. And if that's not right, then the chances are you're not going to score a lot of goals. So that, for me, is where the emphasis lies, is when you get into those good positions, those good areas of the pitch, how can you make that final ball, that end product, that little bit better to make sure that people are getting on the end of it inside the penalty area.
There's already been a Premier League game that took place this afternoon. Norwich have lost at home to Brighton. It finished Brighton 1, Norwich 0 at Carrow Road there. But today, Walshy, is very much about the race for the top four, isn't it? Leicester certainly involved, and all the other teams in that race for the top four seemingly are involved this afternoon as well. At some point, Chelsea are playing, Manchester United are playing, Wolves playing as well. So do you think that's something that Brendan Rodgers, as you look at the fixtures there, Walshy, those other teams involved, is that something Brendan Rodgers will be saying in the dressing room, and how do you see those games going?
I think, it's been a race for the top four for us since the start of the season, which is a credit to how far we've come this season. So let's not take that away. It's been exceptional. Now, the race is coming to an end quite quickly. But what we've got to do, we're still in there. It's still in our hands, which we keep saying it. And you don't get too many opportunities and chances like this in football. But Brendan, you're just listening to there, it's a very fair assessment of what he's looking to achieve and how he talks about the youth in the squad, and it's a development plan for the future. So things are looking very, very good. But there is obviously, as soon as things like this happen, when you get a little bit of a barren spell, then the social media and everything and the press, they jump on you like a ton of bricks, and you're up there, you're down there the next minute. So they've just got, like I said, we're in it to win it. We've got the games you can see, the winnable, achievable games. We've just gone through a bunch of games which, we could have won them all, really. And we've had the better possession. It's just been some silly little mistakes that we from set pieces. Again, we keep going on to this, and we've got to mark up better, or however we defend. If it's zonal marking, then someone's got to attack the ball and really mean it. And again today they've got some big, like Cahill, Ayew, Benteke will be the three to mark. You'd say from set pieces there'll be a danger. But we've got Evans and Ndidi, Soyuncu, really, that should be able to eradicate that. So, you look at the Chelsea goal when Willian whipped that ball in, and Chilwell got exposed 2v1. He should have carried on. He stopped and shouldn't have done, really. Harvey Barnes should have been filling in and doing that job. It shouldn't have happened. And it's frustrating for a manager when things like that happen, because that has effectively cost us the game. But listen, we're right in there. It's a game that we can win. I like the starting lineup. I hope that Iheanacho, has a terrific game and works his socks off, gets in them channels. And Vardy gets his 100th goal. Let's just try and settle the ship. 3 points would be absolutely huge towards putting pressure on the ones below us.
Well, absolutely, Walshy. When you do look at the table, Emile, as you said really right at the beginning of the show, that Leicester 3 points clear with 6 games to go. I think any Leicester fan at the beginning of the season absolutely would have taken that situation, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they'd have bit your hand off for that. At the end of the day, it's all about progression. You look at what Brendan's done since coming into the club. It's been wonderful things, and even with the style of football that he plays, it's just attractive on the eyes. So you've got to take one step at a time, and if we finish in the top 4, it's wonderful. If we don't, we're still on a progression upwards that is looking great for the clubs. We move into a new training facility. We're going to attract new players, new caliber of players. So this is a great moment in time for Leicester City. It's just a little bit of a shame that we haven't cemented the top 4 right now. But again, if you'd ask anyone at the beginning of the season, they'll bat your hand off it to be in this position.
Do you think, Gerry, that one thing Brendan Rodgers might potentially be doing in the dressing room is slapping that league table up on the board and saying, look, we are now only 3 points clear of 5th place. You win today and potentially it's 6. Obviously, yes, I know there's other games going on at the same time, particularly Manchester United kicking off at the same time. But is that something that he'd use and he'd say in the dressing room?
Yeah, I think, there's different ways, different tools that Brendan can use to motivate themselves. I think more importantly is kicking off before Wolves and Chelsea is an opportunity. Okay, we don't know what's going to happen while the lads are playing. We'll know, but the players and the manager won't know what's happening at the Manchester United game. So, but for the other 2 teams that are hot on the heels, it's an opportunity to make a statement and say, we're not dead and buried, we're still in this. And so he's got to use that, time difference in the other 2 games as a motivational tool for the players to say, let's go and make a real stamp now. We've had a bit of a tough ride of late, but today's a different day. Today's a game against a team that we know we can beat. We just need to, go about it the right way. And if we win, that puts the pressure back on Wolves, puts the pressure back on Chelsea.
I'll tell you. I don't know one manager who'd probably do that and put the team sheet up on the dressing room, before a game. But it's clear and obvious what we need to do. We've got to get amongst these. We've got to set the tone for the game, and we've got to go out and mean it and really, like they have been doing. They've been giving a lot of effort. You can't fault the commitment and the effort they're putting into every game. They're certainly working the socks off, and with a bit more luck, with a bit more, and stop being a little bit naive at times, that this team have shown you already what they can do. Now, this is in the reverse at the moment, and it's a bit of pressure that they need to deal with, and the longer it goes on, the worse it'll get. So it's time now that we just went out with no fear factor today and go, right, we can beat Palace. We're better than Palace on our day. Let's perform to the levels that we know we can perform.
Well, moving away from that current form, Emile, usually around this time we'd be talking about the King Power Stadium atmosphere and the crowd helping to G up the Leicester players. Obviously, that isn't the case at the moment. It isn't the case for any teams, obviously. What have you made of the games at the moment being played behind closed doors?
They're difficult, aren't they? I'm guessing that the motivation is going to be tough. We've all played in games at the training ground, at the stadium, just for practice matches. And they're not quite the same as obviously as the league games with the likes of having a crowd in it. I recently watched a game back for the Premier League, the 3-3 game against Arsenal. And it's funny that game finished after 90 minutes. When the 90 minute hit, it was 2-1 to Arsenal. And that game finished 3-3. Now, with no crowd, would that really happen? Because again, we underestimate how much a crowd actually spur you on and give you that push to actually go that extra yard to fight that bit more. In that game, we had about 3 or 4 corners, and every corner we thought that we were going to score from, because we had a go. And this is the thing: it's difficult to get yourself going when you've got no one in front of you. But again, for some people, it's easier because they don't really particularly do too well with having crowd and that pressure that comes with having a crowd there. So it swings and roundabouts for some.
I guess, Walsh, you were very much a player that played off the fans, played off the crowd, wasn't he? You were obviously very much involved in that game against Arsenal. I guess at the end, you were focused on only one thing and one person when you were celebrating the equaliser at the end, rather than celebrating with the fans. But
it's a distant memory now, but it's a fantastic memory. And I didn't realise that 90 minutes it was 2-1. It's unbelievable, really. And at Filbert Street, don't forget, the crowd used to roar us on. We used to come. We were the best comeback kings in the whole of football at that time. We for last minute, you trace back and look at the stats. I'm sure there was that many last minute goals through, pure endeavour and the will to win, and forcing games and having a crowd behind you. I couldn't work in this situation as good. I needed a crowd to really spur me on and inspire me. Sometimes it's like playing in a neutral stadium at the minute, where there's just. it's a neutral game. It's anybody's game at the minute. There's no home and away advantage at all now. So it's difficult under the circumstances. We've got to get on with it. But, you know, even though if we played, you know, you imagine playing at Palace, it's harder at Palace. You know, and them grounds, Gerry, that and Emile, you remember, difficult places to go, and we've gone there in the past, and away counted then. Away, you know, when you were going to away clubs, and you knew there were certain clubs you'd gone to. If you might not come away with anything, very rarely did we, but you had to fight against it, and we learned a knack of how to do that. But this is just an open game in a neutral stadium for me now, and it's just killed it. But we've got to accept it. And get the situation right and really take the game at Crystal Palace today.
Well, obviously no Leicester fans here at King Power Stadium, but we know you're supporting the Foxes from home. So do make sure you send us your pictures of your setups this afternoon using the hashtag LCFC or hashtag ThenNowAgain. Let's take a closer look now at today's visitors, Crystal Palace. And James Benge from Football London says that Wilfried Zaha is obviously the main man for Palace.
Leicester are one of those teams that when Palace go to them, it allows Palace to play as the best version of themselves. Hard running on the counter attack. You can, you know, put a few men behind the ball, soak up pressure, and then you've got Zaha, Jordan Ayew potentially, players like that who can really punish you if you commit too many forward. Part of that kind of revolves around Christian Benteke being fit, and as much as he's not the sort of striker he was at Aston Villa or even early in his Liverpool career, he's a sort of perfect board almost to bounce plays off and to bring the best out of Zaha and the other players on the counter-attack and win fouls high up the pitch as well. If he's not fit, that's a really big blow for Palace. They just weren't the same with Jordan Ayew through the middle on Monday night. I think they would benefit a lot from a more physical presence, particularly against, I guess, Soyuncu and Evans. If Benteke's there, they're a real threat on the counter. But I mean, you know, Leicester fans will know as well as anyone the damage Zaha can sometimes just do on his own. The question is whether Zaha can get the ball quickly to other players that can make a difference. You know, that could be someone like James McArthur, Benteke, Ayew. But it is still the case that the kind of, if you quieten Zaha, you quieten Palace. It's not guarantees, because they can beat you at set pieces. You know, they can beat you with Ayew, who has been fantastic this season. But you still, you know, if you're Brendan Rodgers, if you're Sean Dyche, if you're any manager, you game plan around Zaha, because he's one of the best players in the league.
Thanks to James Benge from Football London for that, Gerry. Interesting he picks up on Christian Benteke. He's someone that we've not focused too much on, really. All the talk is about Wilfried Zaha and obviously Jordan Ayew with the goals that he scored this season. But he says Benteke is a very important player to the way Palace play.
Yeah, I think, you know, when you analyse Benteke in recent times, then, you know, the majority of the games that I've seen him in, you wouldn't be overly impressed. But I suppose probably one of his main strengths, if he's not scoring goals, is bringing other people into the game. And you know, we talked about holding the ball up, you know, about Iheanacho being able to do that for Leicester today, you know, getting his back in to defenders, which Iheanacho is really good at. And I suppose that's probably one of the main strengths that Christian Benteke has, is bringing other people, holding the ball up and bringing other people into the game, getting Palace further up the pitch and enabling players like Zaha, Ayew to get into the game.
Well, Emile, that's an interesting point that Gerry makes. Sometimes strikers are literally only judged on the goals that they score or the amount of goals that they score. But you look at some strikers in some teams, the role that they play off the ball or on the ball is equally as important, even if their goal return maybe isn't as high as what some people think it should be.
Yeah, I think you look at myself when I was playing at Liverpool, etc. The impact that I have from other players around me and bringing other people in was probably better than the impact that I had when I was scoring goals, a lot of goals. You know, people love to play with you because, again, you hold the ball up, you bring them in, you create stuff for them, you create space for them, and it's an understanding of knowing how they want to play. Benteke hasn't really hit the ground running when it comes to goals or the performances that he had at Villa. But again, people around him have prospered from him being there, because again he holds the ball up. He'll bring them in. He'll allow them space to do what they can do. When you look at Jordan Ayew, when you look at Zaha just give him the ball, get in the box, give him the ball, give him the space to create stuff, and that's what Benteke does.
Well, Walshy, Roy Hodgson is an incredibly experienced manager that's been there, done it. He wouldn't pick Christian Benteke if he didn't offer something to the team, would he, every single week?
He's very similar, Benteke, in a way of Iheanacho with his consistency levels. This is the frustrating thing about good players, and I think it's there for the world to see what potential they've got, and unlocking that is the hardest thing. And we've seen him score so many good goals. We know he can do it. Iheanacho the same. So they're both following a similar path, and like I said, it is frustrating for a manager because they just want that consistency from their players, and they don't seem to be doing that. And obviously Roy Hodgson's, he has got the experience, he's got the know-how to help him, and he wants him as his main striker, but they've got to perform week in, week out, and suddenly sometimes when things aren't going your way and strikers aren't, they do have barren spells, but pure finishers, they'll only go 3 or 4 games without, with that drought, and then they're back in, straight away with a run of goals. So it's that consistency. But Benteke, you look at his goals, he could have had a lot more if only, But same with Iheanacho. I'm just hope that he can learn from Brendan now, and obviously look at the kind of way that he can support Vardy today, because he's got to start to think more about linking and playing with. You can't be an individual, and I think he's got it in him to combine well with Vardy. Really, you'd think that the right attributes, both of them, to be 2 top strikers together. Vardy, unfortunately, has been isolated by himself, and the way we've played he's worked quite well on the counter-attack. But now we were looking for a different game from him today. So, like I say, I feel for Jamie Vardy over the last year or so sometimes, but he's done a great job in between. He's still on his 19 goals. He's still top goal scorer along with Aubameyang, is it? So he'll be wanting to get over the mark with the 20 barrier. It's always great as a centre forward. I think you always set a target, 20 goals. I want 20 at least, minimum. That's the minimum as a centre forward. As a defender, me and Gerry would say, 6 to 10 goals would be a great season of scoring goals. So, it's interesting, and it's a strong 3 up front for Crystal Palace today. Benteke he can play, or sometimes he can just have a quiet game. Let's hope he's quiet today, and he's kept quiet, because we've certainly got the defending ability to do that. But we've got to be very aware at set pieces. He's very good in the air, Benteke as well. So we've just got to be aware of these today. It'll be an interesting game.
Do you think today, Emile, could be the day for Jamie Vardy? Could today be the day that he gets that 100th Premier League goal? Yeah,
to be honest, I've been saying that for the last few games. So again, as long as he keeps putting himself in them positions, the thing is with centre forwards at times, if it's the runs you don't make, you need to keep making them runs. You need to keep, put yourself in them position, because yes, you might miss some. Yes, some might not be played in, but there'll be that one chance, just that one chance that you get and you'll put away. So he needs to keep making them runs. And yes, he's got the chance of doing that today. Can you remember what it was like for you when you were on 99? No, I didn't even know that I was on 99.
Red balloons.
I think I scored it's a funny story. I scored my 100th against David James, and then we did an interview, and he said to me, "Emile, you've never scored against me, have you?" And I went, I think I have. He goes, "No, you haven't." He goes, "I think I scored my 100th Premier League goal against you." And he went, "So, but you never scored again, did you?" Well, I think I scored my 101st as well.
In the same game, was it?
No, I think it weren't long
after. Gerry, obviously for Jamie Vardy, it's the lockdown didn't come at a good time for him, purely because he has had to wait on the cusp of this landmark for so long.
Yeah, and it will play on his mind. There's no doubt about that. I know his main focus will be the team, trying to get a result today, trying to get 3 points for the team, and obviously trying to break that, trying to get over the line, on 100 league goals will be secondary. But the longer it goes on, the more people talk about it, the more it just plays on the back of your mind. And I'm sure if it does happen today, you'll see some sort of special Jamie Vardy celebration. And everyone's got their fingers crossed that it does happen today, because I'm sure if he scores today, I'm sure Leicester will win.
And that celebration might be relief more than anything.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But, hopefully it's not relief, it's joy. It's a joyous celebration. And hopefully it's capped off with 3 points.
We can just see them warming up out there. This was a little bit earlier, Walshy, obviously Jamie Vardy. The cameras have been panning on him, as they invariably do from a Leicester point of view. Yeah. But he seems relatively relaxed, and he has done pretty much before all of these games. Yeah,
he looks happy. I've just got a feeling he's going to be right bang at it today. I can just tell in his demeanour sometimes, and I felt it in that second half. I felt him really wanting it and really kind of getting the support that he needed, and he's been crying out for. And we'll see in his game today. But still, what would you take today? Would you take the 3 points, or would you take Vardy scoring and get a draw? I don't know. I'd rather have the 3 points at the minute.
No,
so it doesn't matter who scores.
And I'm sure Jamie Vardy would say that himself.
But I'd love us to get 3 points. He gets his goal. He gets over the line, because I'll tell you what, there's a hell of a run in and a competition now with them places. It really is like you say, the race. It is a race to get over the line now, and it's been dangling for such a long time for Leicester, and now it's slipping. So it'd be good to get back up that ladder again. It would. But Jamie, he's capable at any time. Like I said to you, good goal scorers, natural goal scorers, don't have too long of a barren spell. And unfortunately, this is probably one of the longest he's gone, I'm guessing. But still, he's capable at any time to score, and he will do. It'll happen. But sooner the better for us.
Emile, if we're right in our assumption that it is Vardy and Iheanacho up top together, does that change the way you would approach the game yourself as a striker? If sometimes you're on your own, or then you're in a two the next week, does it change the way you approach the game? Does it change the way, I don't know, maybe you do less running if there's two of you?
No. You approach the game the same way. You don't stop doing your running. You don't stop working. It's just how you link up with the player that's playing up front with you. Again, we don't know how they're gonna actually play. I would suggest that yes, they're two up front, but when they're defending, I think it will go into a one in the middle and then one behind. So you're just sitting on the holding midfielder, and then when you actually break forward, then you play break with two up front. But again, you don't do any less work or anything like that. You just figure out how you're going to work together, because again, that's what it's all about. It's about partnerships. Your winger plays with your right winger plays with your right back, your left winger plays with your left back. The two centre halves have a combination together. Your centre half, right centre half, and the right back have a little combination together where you're pulling each other different ways. Your central midfielders work in combination, so it's the same for the forwards as well. Keep talking, keep the communication, keep close to each other. I think Walsh talked about it before, where he's ending up in midfield. He's ending up quite deep in midfield. But how are you supposed to link up with your other partner if you're deep in midfield? Get yourself up there. They need people to be speaking to him, to tell him, we don't need you in here. That's my job in here. You go up there. I'm going to get it to you, and then you work off there.
Emile, there was a lot of times I remember when we played for Leicester, and you were a lone striker a lot of times in the early days especially, because we were really built on a strong defence, weren't we? And backbone of that team. So how did you feel sometimes when, as a lone striker, obviously lonely up there sometimes, when you're not getting the ball? It is frustrating, I'm guessing.
I'll tell you what, Walsh and Emile, we will come back to this. I promise we'll talk about Emile being a lone striker, but I'm just conscious of time. We're very close now to kick-off here at King Power Stadium. A reminder, if you are watching us on social media, this will stop. You'll have to just head to lcfc.com/TV to watch us on there. LCFC radio commentary is available of the game. You can find that on LCFC Radio. So yeah, please do join us in around